Battles of Legend Monstrous Revenge literally right around the corner. We're going to be talking about 10 cards that you're going to want to keep an eye on, whether or not for value or for metagame placement from the set. Big 30%. Just smash the living crap out of that subscribe button so you guys miss out more content. Number 1 is the Dark Magician, the Knight of Dragon Magic. So remember, this is a Dark Magician plus a level 7 or higher Dragon or Warrior. If your monster attacks defense position, you get piercing damage, and then once per turn, when your monster destroys opponent's monster by battle, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to destroyed monster. And then if this goes poof, special summon a Dark Magician, a Gaia the Dragon Champion from your hand deck or extra deck and or graveyard. It's okay. I mainly just pointed this out for the Dark Magicians fans out there, because all of these cards that usually have to do with the anime usually have a crazy price point on them. So if you end up pulling this, and you're like, oh boy, I'm so disappointed with this, go ahead and hold it for a little while, because these sorts of things do tend to gain upwards value. It's one of those cards that people are going to forget about existing, and then you blink and you're like, where in the world did the value come from out of that? Next up is Zeus. Now, this should be a no-brainer to you out here, especially with Zeus at multiples within the format. But Zeus has been one of those cards that every player tends to need to have. And I mean, especially when you're kind of going into a format where you're like, oh boy, we have double stack them up Zeuses, we have all of these interactions where I can take my opponent's monster. Yeah, it's crazy that, these interactions are allowed in the game, but let's call it what it is at this point in time. The ability to have a monster that clears the field, also getting any Exceed monster to actually battle, is some of the easiest stuff in the entirety of the game. Alright, so the fact that easy access, easy access literally is the name of the game, I feel like. So, if you want a monster, or if you need a monster here that gives you the ability to win the game, this is it. You gotta love reprints, they're absolute value. Next up is Danger Nessie. Now, the only reason that I'm putting this here is to every person that did pick up 3 Dark World structure decks that had their hands, crossed like this, that were sitting, in the back, licking their lips in excitement. They're like, someday I'll get to bust these open. Someday I'm going to win locals. Someday it's going to be amazing. Nessie was out of the price point out of a lot of budget players. To be honest with you, the 4 and 3 structure decks can be a challenge, but now that Nessie's getting reprinted here, this does give them the chance to, open up the doors, and now we can go play the 3 structure decks that we spent all of our hard money on. Mainly a budgetary option now, but this is something that we did need for the chance to be able to play this deck. So this is a consistent update to the budget players out here that were wanting to have, the ability to actually play that Dark World structure deck. So good job with this one, Konami. This needed it, and I don't think a lot of people are going to be upset about this. Next up is a personal meme / I actually believe in this card, and it's Armed Neos. Remember, this was an Elemental Hero Neos plus an Armed Dragon monster. Slap Dark Armed Dragon in your deck and you're good to go. It's not like you can't, use the good quick place or the good spell card to, fuse for this. It has to be fusion summoned. I still hate that, but if this card is special summon, you can choose a dragon monster in your graveyard. Destroy a monster your opponent controls with an equal to or lower level than it. And then when this card destroys a monster by battle, it gains the following effect, which is during the main phase, you contribute this card, special summon an Elemental Hero fusion monster from your extra deck, ignoring those summoning conditions. Well, this is where you can Cosmo Neos lock your opponent. But the first problem that you're going to notice is, yeah, you can't really do anything with this turn 1. It's like a turn 3 or turn 2-esque cleanup, and then, you have to Cosmo Neos lock your opponent after that. But I think this card is just hilarious in terms of design, and it is, GX support. So that's another big thing to really consider here. Next up is Shadow's Light. Tribute a dark monster you control, special summon a light monster from your deck or extra deck with the same original type and level. You can banish this card from graveyard during your main phase this turn. You can normal summon one light or dark monster in addition to your normal summoner set. And then you can only use each effect of Shadow's Light once per turn. You cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate either of this card's effects. My biggest disappointment in this card was the fact that they slapped the condition you cannot do your battle phase. But the tributing, or basically rotating a target dark monster, special summon a light from your deck or extra deck with the same original type and attribute. I like that. I like that a lot. This is one of the 2 cards in the set that makes me, question future card design in the light and dark department, but they did put some very harsh restrictions on this, so good job on the very early balancing side of things. Next up is Link Decoder. This is the fabled Link 1 that I didn't think that we were going to get, so early in this set's life. Like, kudos to Konami for actually giving this to us this early, but honestly, if this card is sent to the graveyard as material for a Cyberse Link monster with 2,300 more attack, you can special summon this card by banishing when it leaves the field, and you can only use that effect of this card's name once per turn. But the big thing here is, with everything that, you're kind of already doing with Code Talker shenanigans, I think that the card is particularly good. Alright, anytime that you can get an extender back for the Cyberse archetype, and I mean, it's also incredibly generic as it is. Like, Konami, I appreciate you, but some days this just feels a little bit crazy to me. So, good job with the Link Decoder actually getting this ported in, particularly early here. Next up is Blackwing, the Waning Moon. So, I talked about when I initially saw this card, I was super excited for it. If a monster with 2,000 more attack is on your field, is on the field, alright, you can special summon this from your hand. You only special summon one of these once per turn this way, and then if you control a Blackwing Synchro monster, quick effect can banish this card from your graveyard, target one face monster your opponent controls, one face of card they control, and destroy it. And then you can only use that effect of the Waning Moon once per duel. That's a level 2 that basically allows you to expedite the process to Baron, and if you're doing some Blackwing shenanigans on the side, you get an additional pop. Like, this card is the absolute definition of value in my personal opinion, and I'm super excited that we're getting this. Just anything rank or level 8 related now is going to have this as an additional stepping stone for the deck. So you got to think about the little future applications that you're really pushing here. Next up is Striker Azalea, and you're going to look at this card and you're going to be like, it's just a terrible Striker monster. Why do we want to play this? It's entirely generic. It's 2 light and or dark monsters, which I'm so glad that they made this so generic. On Link Summon, or must be Link Summon, you only special summon one of these once per turn. On special summon, you can target one card on the field, destroy it, then if you have 3 or less spells in your graveyard, send this card to the graveyard. And the once per turn, at the start of the damage step, this card battles its opponent's monster, banish a spell card from your graveyard, destroy that opponent's monster. Hey, look, it's Donner, but a little bit easier to use, because if you got the 3 extra spells, well, you get a monster that actually sticks around. And trust me, light and dark decks out here have been eating very, very good as of late, and the fact that you just got one of the best little option trees that you can access out here, all wrapped up in a nice little bundle for you here. Good stuff. Konami was extremely generous on this one. Next up is Duality. For a quick play spell card, this by far breaks the definition of things. So you can tribute 1 light or dark monster. Alright, so we are, unlike Shadow's Light, we are getting the ability to do both. Special summon 1 light or dark monster from your hand or extra deck with the same original type and level, but in a different original attribute. Okay, well that's easy. During your main phase, alright, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 light and 1 dark in your graveyard, shuffle both into the deck and then draw 1. This does not lock me like Shadow's Light does, and this is just going forward for any interaction. This is hilarious. Like, kudos. I love this. I love everything about this. This is just a future hazard-proof problem for future design now that this exists. Imagine that they do some light and dark shenanigans, or you're just like, oh, cool, we can just break Duality now. I don't know about you, but I want to see how hard we can see this card be broken out here. And then, I think one of the best pickups out of the set is Assault Synchron. During your main phase, special summon this card and you take 700 life points. Oh, that's entirely free. Okay, sure, I'll take 700. And while this is face up the monster zone, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except for Synchro monsters. Okay, sure. If a face-up dragon synchro monster you control is tributed or banished, except during damage type, you banish this card from graveyard, target one of those, special summon it. Oh, and my monster gets to recur itself? Oh, darn. This is literally everything crazy written on a card for Stardust. Literally anything really dragon synchro related. Like, I actually am very excited to see, you know, the crazy things that this card will bring to the table. So those are my top pickups right now out of Battles of Monstrous Revenge. What do you think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.